Buffalo, we have a problem. Day 3 of Bills training camp started like a dream and ended like a nightmare, and by the time the dust settled on that practice field, half of Bills Mafia was refreshing Twitter like their lives depended on it. So let's talk about it. The good, the bad, and the genuinely scary straight from camp. For the first hour or so, this was shaping up to be the best practice of camp. The offense was clicking, the defense was flying around, and then, in the middle of a team period, everything changed. Gardner-Johnson, the 8th-year veteran the Bills brought in this offseason to be the missing piece of their secondary, went down. And he didn't just tweak something. He went down hard, grabbing at the back of his right leg right around the Achilles and could not put weight on it. Trainers rushed over. Cameras zoomed in. And Bills fans everywhere felt their stomachs drop. Here's what we know. Gardner-Johnson was hurt during a team drill, reportedly on a play where rookie receiver Skylar Bell took a handoff to the outside. It appeared to be a non-contact injury, which, if you know anything about football, is often the scarier kind. He was helped off the field, spent about 5 minutes in the medical tent while trainers worked on the back of his foot, and general manager Brandon Beane personally walked over to check on him. Not long after, Gardner-Johnson was taken off the field by cart and brought to the locker room. For a few minutes, it felt like the entire complexion of the Buffalo defense had just changed in an instant. But here's the twist, and this is where it gets interesting. Gardner-Johnson was actually able to put some weight on that leg as he made his way to the cart. That small detail mattered a lot to the players who were closest to the situation. Offensive lineman Dion Dawkins, who has become one of the most trusted voices in that locker room, walked over to check on him personally. And afterward, when reporters swarmed him, Dawkins didn't sound like a man who thought his teammate's season was over. He said CJ was okay, but he was honest about how scary these moments are, how any single snap in football can end a guy's entire season in a blink. That's the brutal reality of this sport, and everyone in that building knows it. According to Dawkins, the message relayed from the coaching staff was that Gardner-Johnson was fine and that the team would simply run through their normal medical protocol. But Beane, ever the measured voice of reason, wasn't ready to celebrate or panic. He told reporters plainly that nobody actually knows anything until the Emory comes back. No speculation, no guessing, just wait for the imaging and let the doctors do their job. And look, if you followed Gardner-Johnson's career at all, you know this isn't exactly new territory for him. This is a guy with an eerie pattern of camp injuries to that same lower right leg. Back in 2023, during his time with the Detroit Lions, he was carted off on day 2 of camp with a strikingly similar right leg injury. Last summer, while playing for the Houston Texans, he went down again in camp with what looked like an Achilles scare. In both of those cases, the injuries ended up being less severe than the panic suggested, and Gardner-Johnson went on to play that season, bouncing between Houston and Chicago last year. So there's a real documented history here of these scares looking worse in the moment than they end up being. That doesn't guarantee anything this time, but it's worth knowing before you spiral into worst-case scenario mode. Now, while the Gardner-Johnson situation played out, practice kept rolling, and the back half of that session gave us a ton of information about how this Buffalo defense might actually be built if CJ has to miss any time. With Gardner-Johnson out, it was Geno Stone and Damar Hamlin stepping in to take first-team reps at safety. And I'll be honest with you, that's not exactly the pairing that inspires a ton of confidence walking into the regular season. Hamlin, for all the respect and love he's earned in that building and around the league, was actually being talked about by some as a potential cut candidate before camp started. He's beloved. He's a fighter. But the roster math and the talent level on this defense right now just don't necessarily favor him holding down a starting role deep into the season. Which brings us to the guy everyone in Buffalo needs to be paying attention to, rookie safety Jaylen Kilgore. This kid has been rising up draft boards and depth charts since the day he was picked, and day 3 only added fuel to that fire. Thursday's practice, he broke up 3 passes. Saturday, he came away with 2 interceptions. That's 5 total plays on the ball through just 3 days of camp for a guy who was a later round pick. Yes, some of that production has come against backup quarterbacks, but the flashes are real, and the buzz inside the building is real too. Bills insiders are already joking that opposing backup quarterbacks are going to see this kid in their nightmares. If Gardner-Johnson's timeline gets pushed back at all, don't be shocked if Kilgore's path to a starting job gets fast-tracked right along with it. There's also a sneaky detail buried in all of this that tells you everything about how new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard wants to build this unit. Even after Gardner-Johnson went down, the coaching staff did not slide safety Cole Bishop back into the deep, single high role. Instead, Bishop stayed right where he was, in that hybrid slot and apex position that lets him rotate between coverage and rushing the passer. That's the whole philosophy of this new defense in one small coaching decision. Leonhard wants versatility, chess pieces who can move around and create confusion, not guys locked into one job. Losing your starting safety mid-practice and not shuffling your best hybrid piece back into a traditional role tells you the coaching staff trusts the depth and trusts the scheme more than they trust conventional wisdom. Beyond the safety situation, camp gave us plenty else to chew on. Undrafted rookie cornerback Connie Walker has been quietly climbing the depth chart and, in the eyes of plenty of camp observers, has already passed veteran depth piece Terriano Pride Jr. on the boundary. Pride is blazing fast, arguably one of the fastest corners in this year's draft class, but Walker's work ethic and consistency through 3 practices have been impossible to ignore. And with the cornerback room thinner than fans would like heading into the season, especially without an added veteran presence, every one of these depth battles matters more than usual. At linebacker, 4th-round rookie Caleb Amsor is putting together one of the more underrated storylines of camp. Not only did he run the defense with the green dot on his helmet, meaning he was the one calling plays and communicating with the sideline, but he was still out on the field getting extra work long after most of his teammates had headed inside. That's the profile of a young player trying to force his way into a bigger role, and it's starting to show up in how the coaching staff is using him. On the other side of the ball, the offense had its own headlines. Receiver Josh Palmer, who lost basically all of last season to a brutal hip drop tackle injury, finally had the kind of day Bills fans have been waiting for, highlighted by a highlight reel one-handed touchdown catch. After 2 quiet days to open camp, that one moment could be the sign of a real bounce-back season brewing. Meanwhile, rookie Skylar Bell continues to turn heads with his short area quickness and burst, hauling in multiple catches in team drills, including a beautifully placed layered throw from Josh Allen that split the 2nd and 3rd levels of the defense. And tight end Dalton Kincaid, playing his 3rd straight injury-free practice, put together arguably the play of the day, cleanly beating Cole Bishop on a route and separating wide open on a corner route. When healthy, Kincaid remains one of the most dangerous route runners at his position in the entire NFL, and this camp is proving it early. There was even a jaw-dropping trick play in the mix, a flea flicker with multiple pitches that ended in a wide-open screen to Josh Allen, catching the defense completely off guard after days of the defensive side dominating the headlines. It's a small reminder that even with all the injury drama, this Buffalo offense still has plenty of firepower and creativity in the tank. Behind the scenes, at quarterback, the backup battle is heating up too. Kyle Allen, brought back mostly for his familiarity with the system, is reportedly trending toward losing that QB2 job, with Mitchell Trubisky-type competition pushing hard to win the role. Not exactly the storyline anyone wants to focus on for a Super Bowl contender, but depth at every position matters, especially early in camp when roles are still being sorted out. And defensively, all of this new information is being installed under a very intentional plan from coordinator Jim Leonhard. A lot of these Buffalo defenders have played the exact same scheme for the better part of a decade under the previous coaching staff, so this camp isn't just about reps, it's about rewiring instincts. Every rep, Every install, every shift in coverage responsibility matters right now. Because how quickly this defense gels could be the difference between a slow start in October and a defense that's humming from week 1. So where does that leave us heading into the weekend? Sunday is an off day for the team with the next practice set for Monday, and the annual Blue-Red scrimmage now just about a week away. But make no mistake, everything right now is hanging on one word: MRI. Until that imaging comes back and the Bills' medical staff gives a real diagnosis, everything else is speculation, even the optimistic stuff. Brandon Beane made that clear himself, and it's the smartest approach anyone in that building can take right now. This is the beautiful, brutal chaos of NFL training camp. One snap turns a depth chart upside down. One young player forces his way into the conversation. One veteran's entire season hangs in the balance of a single medical scan. That's why this window every August is must-watch content if you're a real football fan, because the story is being written in real time, right in front of us. So here's where you come in. If this breakdown helped you actually understand what's going on with the Bills right now, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Is CJ Gardner-Johnson's camp scare going to turn into something serious, or does his history suggest he'll be just fine? And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this camp story is moving fast and I'll have every single update the second it breaks. We're closing in on a huge subscriber milestone for this channel, and every one of you watching right now can help get us there. Thanks for riding with me through day 3. Go Bills! And I'll see you in the next one.